Yo, what is going on YouTube? I am Germ here. As you guys can see up on the screen behind me, today we're going to be going through another version of the power rankings. Again, in the past for the LCS, I've looked at like Team Liquid ranking all the teams, Mark Zimmerman ranking all the teams. We did Reddit ranks the LCS teams, and now they're doing a new crowdsourced Reddit rankings for the LEC post Super Week. This is after the first 3 games of the LEC season, where we're getting to see what Reddit thinks. They did the LCS teams as well, but in this video today, I specifically want to be talking about the LEC teams because again, we're three games in the Super Week, and we've gotten to see a little bit of all the new teams, all the new rosters, all the new players. And you know, I give my thoughts and opinions all the time. We get the thoughts and opinions of you guys down in the comment section. But what does Reddit think? You know, just getting a whole different kind of population of people, seeing what we agree with, what we disagree with, and just kind of again giving our feedback and thoughts on all this. I think it's really fun and interesting, just to get a bunch of different opinions, because again, we love discussing League of Legends esports. So this is just another way to do it, another group to do that with. But before we get into that, I just want to mention real quick, if you're not already subscribed, definitely click that subscribe button really quick. It's fast, it's free, it's easy, and it helps you guys stay up to date on all my latest content. Guys, we have actually gotten the people who watch my videos and are not subscribed all the way down to 69%. When I first started calling this out, we were sitting around 75%, and that number has kept going down because people keep subscribing. You know, if you guys wonder why your favorite YouTubers or anyone you watch on YouTube ask for people to subscribe, it's because it works. So again, we've been putting up awesome numbers. Hopefully we can keep running those up. We're getting closer and closer to 6,200 every day. So that'd be awesome if we could hit that. Also, dropping a like on this video helps me out a ton with the YouTube algorithm, and I would appreciate it a bunch. With that being said, here we go. Getting right into this one, which again is our, as you can see, Reddit's crowdsourced LEC power rankings. All you have to do is click which team you believe would win a hypothetical matchup. So to get an idea of what that looks like, once you click on the link, this is what comes up. You get a bunch of these different boxes where you just get random matchups from the LEC, and I think you get like 5 or 6 maybe they have to decide between. You just literally just click on who you think would win this hypothetical matchup. Some of these matchups we've already seen play out in the LEC, some of them we haven't yet, but even if it's a matchup that we have seen already, that doesn't mean it couldn't change the second time, because obviously each team's going to play every team multiple times. There's red side, blue side, there's improvements you make over the course of the year, there's maybe a team had a bad draft, maybe they made a silly mistake, maybe they wouldn't do that again. So there's a lot that goes into this, but again, so you just pick like 5 different matchups, you pick who you think you're going to win, and then it starts placing them in order. And then as whatever, hundreds or thousands or however many people do this, they start mashing them all together, and finally we get like a big long list, 1 through 10, of what Reddit as a whole is thinking. And I think these are really fun. I think it's a great idea, and it just kind of gives an overall general consensus of the community. Yes, Reddit is just one community, but it is really the biggest community for League of Legends and League of Legends esports, so we get some general ideas. But again, as everyone knows, you know, Reddit is only as smart as its users, and the average Reddit user is not very intelligent, so I'm expecting us to get some interesting picks here. I've looked at the list a little bit, but I haven't looked at it all the way. With that being said, let's get into this. Again, running through what Reddit is thinking about this stuff. I need a little bit bigger paintbrush, I think. From top to bottom, or from bottom to top, whatever, at number 10, we have Astralis, and I really don't think this is a big surprise here. What also stands out to me here is these numbers. We can see Astralis is at a negative 0.7, and the team in 9th is at a 0.7. I mean, so that's a huge discrepancy. That's like a full point discrepancy there. Then you can see kind of like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 are really bunched up tight and close. But overall, most people do think Astralis is really bad, and I agree with them there. You know, so far so good. I definitely have Astralis even after the first 3 games. They were able to pick up a win over Vitality, obviously, but I do think they are still kind of the worst team in the league. They have a mix of young players that are not super hyped up, some aging players that are not super hyped up either. You know, they just have a weird lineup. I'm not really sure exactly how this is the lineup they finally decided on. I don't really think a lot of other people understand it either. You know, I think they're going to win only minimal games. Yes, it is crazy that they already have, through 3 games, they already have 1 win. That's probably better than a lot of people expected them to be doing so far. But when you look at all the other teams in the LEC, at least in my opinion, there's just every team has like at least a couple areas where they're just better than Astralis, at least on paper. Again, you don't play the game on paper, maybe things are going to change, but that's just what me and apparently Reddit are thinking so far. At number 9, we have Vitality. And I've been saying for a while, even though I get a lot of hate from people in the comments, that I am not that high on Vitality. I don't really see it. Vitality actually has a lot of fans and a lot of people that really come out in defense of them all the time. And even after Vitality lost to Astralis, I tweeted out something like, LOL, Vitality fans have been telling me all off season that I'm sleeping on their team. And again, I really don't see it. A lot of the players on their team just really are very uninteresting to me. They're very solid. I mean, a lot of them are kind of middle, lower of the pack. pack, but they don't really have like a player who's the best in their position, or a guy who's an absolute standout, or a guy who's going to like carry and win games. And over the course of the season, they're just, to me, what is the peak of Vitality? 6th place, 7th place? I mean, that'd be like in North America, like hyping up like CLG or something. Like, I don't know. I've had so many weird comments about Vitality and how I'm wrong about them, blah, 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 blah. And seeing them lose to Astralis was hilarious to me. But with that being said, I think 9th is probably a little bit too low. I think people are probably overreacting a little bit to Vitality losing to Astralis, because again, we see the gap between 8th and 9th is like pretty big here, 0.3. When all the next 3 teams are within like 0.1 of each other, 0.3 is a pretty big gap, and I don't think Vitality's that much worse than the other teams. I'm fine with you ranking them 9th. If you want to, I would probably rank them, anywhere 7, 8, 9. I wouldn't argue with too much. But again, all the Vitality fans who were kind of hating on me all off season, it felt a little bit good to see them drop that one to Astralis. It was pretty hilarious. But yeah, I mean, they're 1 and 2. They have a loss to Astralis. They weren't going to be ranked very high up right now. This is a bad time for them for these rankings to come out, but I'm sure they'll move up over the course of the season. At number 8, we have Excel Esports. This is another one that I think they might be a little bit too low. This is a team I would maybe have like up to 7th. I do like a lot of their pieces. Patrick looks really, really good. Jekyllad has been very, very hyped up. They have some nice talent on this team. They haven't necessarily looked great to start the season. Torre has looked, pretty terrible, and that really does kind of hinder Patrick. Obviously, your support has a direct effect on the AD carry, and when your AD carry is your best player, if your support is kind of holding them down, that is going to hold the whole team down. That is going to affect them. But again, Excel is very, very close to the team in 7th. So, even Reddit thinks they could be like maybe 7th. They're pretty interchangeable. I do agree with that. And Excel, I do expect them to finish like 6th or 7th, but when all is said and done. But again, right now, I think there is 7 teams in the LEC that are 1 and 2. So, not really any of these teams distance themselves in the first 3 games of the season so far. So, it is kind of really hard to kind of differentiate between a lot of these teams. I think Excel has a lot of issues that should keep them out of like the top 5 spots in the LEC. But I think they're solid enough where they could move up a little bit. But I'm not mad at Reddit for rating them 8. At number 7, we have SK. Now, yeah, this is, for me personally, I would probably rate Excel over SK. SK is another team that's just really, like, pretty wildly uninteresting to me. I'm not super excited about any, like, one player or this team overall as a whole. I do expect them to kind of be, like, the 7th or 8th place team at the end of the split, so I don't think this is a bad ranking. Again, another team that's so far 1 and 2. I just don't really have that much to say about them, honestly. Now, we're getting into the top 6. At number 6, we have Schalke. This was a team that is kind of moving down some people's rankings after that first weekend where they did not look good. Obviously, they started out 1-1, then they got to play against Fnatic, who's also not looking good, and they drop a game to the 0-2 Fnatic team. And yes, Fnatic did look a lot better in that game, and that shouldn't really be that bad of a loss, but I think people are going to kind of take it as a pretty bad loss, again, with how terrible Fnatic looked in their first 2 games. Schalke just has not looked great so far. This is a team, they're riding off the highs of that miracle run last year, but they made some roster changes. They lost Oduamne, and so far, Broken Blade has been a little, not that clean so far, and that's the same things we saw with him with TSM. I think when people were really overstating TSM losing Broken Blade and Schalke getting him, because they were like, oh, he's this huge carry player that TSM should have kept, blah, 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 and like, yes, he does have those moments, but I've watched every TSM game for the last like 3 or 4 years. Broken Blade had some bad moments. He has some sloppy moments, and he showed that in some of the Schalke games as well already so far. I just, thinking about that Gragas combo where he ease onto the guy and then throws his Q and then ults and doesn't get the one shot onto, I believe it was onto Jekyllad for Excel, but I could be wrong there as well. It's just been weird so far. And again, Schalke is a team that's very, very streaky. They get hot, they go on runs, they do bad, they go cold. People maybe expected them to move up into like the 3rd, 4th team right now, but I agree with Reddit. They are kind of, so far, they have looked pretty bad to me, so I don't really mind them putting 6th. And man, look at that gap between 5th and 6th. That is a 1.1 gap between 6th and 5th as far as this numbering system. That's pretty steep. That's hard to overcome. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that big of a gap between the 5th place team, but, I don't really blame them for putting Schalke 6th. Schalke has a ton of talent, but they've looked bad so far. At number 5, we have Mad Lions. And again, Mad Lions has not looked great to start the season either. A lot of people are questioning Humanoid, who's off to a really, really slow start to the season. Also, a big thing to note with this team is, people are pretty hyped up on Aloya and think he's going to have a good year, and he's looked solid so far. But, man, he's replacing Shadow, who was the first team all-LEC jungler in the summer split of 2020. Like, those are not small shoes to fill. It is going to be tough for him to replace the things that Shadow was able to do for this team at times. And yes, people also expect Arma to be an upgrade over Arome, but again, Arome was solid sometimes too. Maybe towards the end of the year, into the playoffs at Worlds, he wasn't the best, but those are going to be tough guys to fill. And I don't know, Mad Lions is kind of in that Schalke category to me so far, where they haven't really looked super impressive to start the season. And yes, I do think they are better than Schalke. I would rate them ahead of them, but man, that distance between Mad Lions and Schalke, like, I think Schalke is much closer to Mad Lions than they are to SK Gaming, at least in my opinion. So I'm a little bit surprised there, but Mad Lions, popular team, huge fan base. We do expect Humanoid to bounce back and be better over the course of the season. Mid is just kind of a weird position right now, where it seems like a lot of people are struggling early on in the season, and to stand out, and like maybe it's kind of a weak position, like weaker than it has been historically, but it's how it goes. At number 4, what do we got here? We have Misfits. Now, this is a team who, yes, they're off to a hot start. They're 2-1, so they're right now 3rd place in the LEC, and they're going to be super, super volatile. This is definitely a team I expect to drop down. I would not be shocked if Mad Lions ends up passing Misfits, if Schalke ends up passing Misfits, but I also wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be like terribly shocked if Misfits end up as the 3rd best team either, because this is a very, very talented team. We weren't really sure what to expect from Hyrit or however you say his name, and Vethio. We didn't really know what to expect from them, but Vethio has looked super, super good to start the season. Kabe and Vander look like a really nasty bot lane. I mean, this team, just the pickup of Vander alone was really, really big for them. So we'll have to see how that goes. They have a ton of parts that are going on. They have a ton of players that we don't really know a ton about still, and yes, it's just 3 games, and they've looked good, and they're 3rd place in the LEC, but so much can change. I don't know if this team will be able to hang with some of these maybe more talented teams on paper over the course of the full season, but so far it's been fun to watch them. But again, Mad Lions and Schalke are going to be on their heels. Just because they're a game up on them now does not really mean anything over the course of the season. But I would have Misfits as 3rd, 4th, 5th right now, so I don't disagree with that too much. Next up at number 3, we have Fnatic, and this is definitely going to be a controversial one because Fnatic looked absolutely terrible in the first 2 games. If you went just off the first 2 games, Fnatic would probably be 5th, 6th on this list. I'm not even sure. Bwipo and Hilly were just straight running it down, but then finally in the 3rd game, we got to see them against Schalke. We got to see them bounce back and look a little bit more how we expect Fnatic to look. We got to see how good they can actually be when they just play calm, collected, and under control. They can be really dominating. Obviously, this team has a ton of talent, self-made. Upset has been very good so far for them. Hillsang, Bwipo, they can be good when they're not inting, and then obviously Niski is going to be really, really solid and really good for them as well. He's actually had a good start to the season. So a lot of good things for Fnatic, but again, they haven't really been consistently showing that on the Rift so far. We've had 1 good game out of them, out of 3, and last year they were the 2nd best team in the LEC. They went to Worlds, they did make it out of groups, almost made it to the semifinals. That's not how they're starting the season so far. Yes, it is a long season. Yes, they can rebound. Everyone's saying, oh, Fnatic starts slow every year. Okay, this isn't your old reckless Fnatic teams. This isn't Cavs Fnatic. This is a new Fnatic team. And each one is different. Just because even if they do it every single year, it's still a very, very difficult thing to do, and it's not a thing you want to consistently be doing because it's very, very difficult to do. Just because you're good at putting yourself behind the 8 ball and getting out of it, doesn't mean you can rely on that. Doesn't mean you should want to rely on that. And that is kind of really, really naive because it's so weird to me, the difference between the reaction that TSM gets and Fnatic gets, where TSM does bad, everyone wants to flame them and everyone wants to shit on them. But when Fnatic does bad, everyone's like, oh, Fnatic just does bad every year. And then they come back and yeah, they do have a good track record of that. But again, we'll see if they can continue to do that. I think 3rd place is absolutely fine for them right now. They are talented enough to deserve that 3rd place spot, but they got to start proving it more consistently. It can't be 1 good game out of 3. That's just not gonna work. That's not gonna be sustainable, especially when you start to play some of the other teams like G2. Obviously, they haven't ran into yet. At number 2, a team that a ton of people are getting hyped up right now about is Rogue. Obviously, they were able to take the game over Fnatic. They've looked great. They're 3-0. They're atop the LEC. They look like they have a ton of talent. And the big question mark from last year was obviously Finn in the top lane. They've replaced him with Oduwamne, who has looked super solid for this team so far and is just off to a really hot start in the season. This team looks like it doesn't have a lot of holes. Obviously, Inspired and Larson are just a beast mid-jung duo. Hansama, Trimby was another big question mark. How are they going to be able to replace Vander? But obviously, they must have felt pretty confident about Trimby coming into the year if it was even an option for him to replace Vander. And so far, so good. I know some people are saying that they think Rogue might be able to compete with G2. I think we need to pump the brakes on that a little bit. You know, being the second place team in the LEC is really great. I don't think they're anywhere near G2, but I don't think Fnatic right now is very near them either. By the end of the year, I think Fnatic definitely has the talent to be able to play with a team like Rogue, and I think the LEC is going to have three very solid teams in Fnatic, Rogue, and G2, and they're going to have a chance to do very well at Worlds this year. I think the LEC is very top-heavy because I think there is a big gap between Fnatic and Misfits, Mad Lions, and Schalke, because Mad Lions and Schalke have not looked very good to start the year, but Rogue, super fun, super exciting to watch. I'm really becoming a big fan of this team. I do expect them to do well the rest of the season. Obviously, number one, no question here. Big gap between 1 and 2. Big gap between 2 and 3 is G2. You know, they've looked insane to start the year. The Martins, all 6 of them, are just absolutely running through. And, you know, the question now for a lot of people is, are they going to be able to go 18-0? Again, probably not, because they do like to troll. They like to do crazy drafts. They like to int. They like to limit test. But it'll be super fun to watch. Reckless seems like he's, you know, jumped into this team and this roster pretty flawlessly. Off to a great start. And really everyone's looking good. They look like they might have the single best player at every single position in the LEC. And that's why they are, you know, atop every single person's LEC power rankings right now. If you have Rogue number 1, you gotta chill. You're probably just like a Rogue fanboy or something. But that is pretty much it for this video today, guys. Definitely drop a like if you enjoyed it. It does help me out with the YouTube algorithm so much, and I would appreciate it just absolutely greatly. Leave a comment down below. What do you think about these Reddit power rankings? What did they get right? What did they get wrong? What are your power rankings looking like after the super week that we've had so far? I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions on anything we talked about in today's video. Subscribe to update on the latest content. We're trying to hit 7K as soon as we can in 2021. Hopefully catch you guys in the next one, but until then, peace!